Hello and welcome back to Handpanery. It is week 4, day 3 of the week. We're going to look at some single stroke rolls this time. By that I mean using one strike per hand, one strike per finger. And I like to use these on kind of high notes to make my improvisations and grooves a bit more interesting. And I like them because they have a very clear one sound, whereas when you start to use things like this, you know, your index finger sounds ever so slightly different to your ring finger, whereas if you do it all with the same finger in each hand, it's going to be a lot more coherent in sound. So it just depends on what you're going for. This is one of the options. So what we need to do in order to get a nice, strong single stroke roll is first to just practice, go right back to the basics of actually just striking the instrument, one hand after the other. And I invite you to think about purity and clarity of tone. I enjoy curving my fingers ever so slightly so it's got more of that soft mallet sound. Of course, you can strike on the ding itself. And in order to practice speed, these single stroke rolls, we want them to be really fast and punchy. So I'm going to practice those beat division exercises in order to get that speed up. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1, 2, 3. Really thinking about getting each hand at the same dynamic and strength and control. Time, you want that to be faster and faster. What I don't recommend is doing what I just did. What I don't recommend is starting at a slow tempo and then kind of gently accelerating, right, within the same practice. Because what this is going to do is it gives you permission to speed up in playing, which you don't want. What you want is being able to keep a steady tempo. You want to, with every practice that you do, you can always be practicing something else at the same time, right? So I'm practicing my single stroke rolls, but I'm also practicing, you know, getting a nice tone. I'm also practicing playing in time. So instead, what I recommend you do is start at a steady tempo, get that metronome nice and slow, practice 5 minutes, and then turn the metronome up 5 ppm, 10 bpm, however much feels comfortable, and then start again. Stop, turn the metronome up, start again. Stop, turn it up, start again, and so on and so forth. Then when you come back the next day, bring it right back to not quite 0, but maybe like 10 bpm faster than the day before, and then bring it up and up to speed again. And then the next day, 10 bpm higher, and same process. Stop, faster, stop, make it faster, play again, stop, make it faster, and so on and so forth. Rather than just sitting down and trusting yourself and speeding up on your own, because that's going to encourage the wrong kind of ideas in your general playing later on down the line. So strict metronome practice for this one. So once you've got that and you've got a little bit of speed, then you can take it around to different notes. Right, I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, how many am I playing? 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 beats anyway, so 16. Leaving the last one to give myself room to move up. Do this to a metronome, back down again as well. So I invite you to keep this up. The same with the scales exercises from way on earlier in the month. I invite you to practice this with every single finger and see how tricky it starts to get when you get to these two. right? You might need to slow it down quite a bit in order to get the pinky to do what you want it to do. Again, that might seem kind of pointless because you're never going to play single stroke rolls with your pinky finger, but what it's doing is practicing your dexterity, it's practicing your strength, strengthening your fingers, getting them used to working in lots of different ways so that you've got anything available to you that you need to pull out of your sleeve when you're improvising. So practice those scales. Then we're going to start to hone it in and to put it into a little bit more context. So we're going to turn this single stroke roll into a 5-stroke roll. What this means is, in the context of a groove, we might play 1, 2, 3, 4, in this case on the shoulder of the ding, and then 5 on the ding. Yeah, so it kind of accents, finishes, full stop on the ding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I invite you to practice this leading both with the dominant hand and the non-dominant hand. And you might find that you're a little bit slower leading with the non-dominant, which is funny because you're doing exactly the same thing, it's just that your brain is thinking about it in a slightly different way. Practice that to a metronome, getting faster and faster. Then what I want you to start thinking about is how actually beat 5 in that 5-stroke roll, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is actually beat 1 of your groove. So you can count it 4E and a 1, 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 4E and a 1. Then, because you've got that, now you can put that into context of a groove, right? So working tiny building block by tiny building block to eventually put it into context. So if you've got a simple groove, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And now you know there's a 4e under there that I can use, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4e and a 1, 2 and 3 and 4e and a 1, and 2 and 3 and 4e and a 1. Right? You could even take that a step further, turn that into 30-second notes and play them in the last 2 beats. 2, 3, take it together. With your right hand, you must practice with your left hand. Right, so that's bringing the single stroke roll, turning it into a 5-stroke roll so that you can rationalize it, put it into the context of a groove. Then I want you to move that over to some high notes. And in order to get a nice sound, I invite you to curve the finger, use the very squidgy part of your finger, so you can get a nice malleted tone. Context of moving around with chords. And now it makes contextually more sense. is, see if you can put it into some of your playing to help you sound fast and furious and pro, more importantly. Enjoy, and I'll see you tomorrow.